The reality is that starting an enterprise is a highly disciplined activity that is, for which there is methodology. The methodology is straightforward. You're not intended to read those 20 questions. I'm not sure you even could, but because I've made them small enough in the hopes you wouldn't read them. Those 20 questions are the same questions I ask of myself when I start a company. They're the same questions I ask of another company when I invest in them. They're the same questions that most funding bodies, professional, institutional investors ask of others. And it's that 20 questions that one has to be able to answer about any innovation or any business idea in order to determine not just whether you should start a business, but what type of business is it you are starting. So it determines not just the likelihood of the outcome of the enterprise, but the shape of the enterprise itself. One of the things people seem to believe, quite wrongly, is that when you start a business, when you begin on this journey, you are inventing. You stop inventing as soon as you have your notion. The innovation stops there. Everything else is discovery. You go out and you discover everything else. And these 20 questions are about discovery. And I can tell people, here's 20 questions, just answer them. And they still cannot answer the questions. And the peculiar issue of starting inside the lab or inside an academic institution is questions 1 and 2 are particularly difficult to ask. Questions 1 and 2 largely, and I rephrase them all the time, but it's basically, what have you done that people want or need? There's lots of ways of phrasing this. Why does anyone care is one of my favorites. It is this jump from I have an innovation to I am fulfilling a need or desire. And it doesn't have to be a need, it can be a desire. In order to answer the 20 questions, essentially what you're doing is you are trying to understand, starting from a single point and following an unraveling thread. And that unraveling thread is very straightforward. If in fact you have something innovative, that innovation has an impact on someone, and the measure of their pain is the measure of your price. And everything flows from that sentence, oddly enough. The measure of their pain is the measure of your price. If it costs them more to solve the problem with your innovation than it did not to solve the problem, or to solve it as they solve it today, then you're what is known as a cost-ineffective business. If, in fact, the marginal cost of solving it stays the same no matter how many of them do it, it means you also can't scale. Everything flows from this first question. What is the measure of their pain? That is an act of discovery, not an act of invention. You then have to stop and not tell me what feature, what cool thing you've done. You can't tell me what great feature you've got. You can't tell me how it's built. You can't tell me how much it costs. You must tell me who it's for and what problem it solves, and how much that problem costs them to leave unsolved today in the individual, and if you were to sum it by the total number of people who could have it solved for them in the aggregate, and poof, you have your marketplace. Everything flows from one question.